Eragon is a book that I am not finished with yet. I am about halfway through it, probably a little bit more than that, as of reading it right now. This is the second time I read it. I read it when I was a kid, and I don't really remember it, hence why I'm reading it again. I remember really liking it as a kid, but now that I'm rereading it again, I have different thoughts. Right? And so I'm bringing you guys this review, even though I'm not finished with the book, because I think it's important to see how somebody like feels about a book partway through. Because there are some books where the ending, even if the ending is great, although mostly if the ending is just good, it's not really worth going through all of the pages to get to a pretty good ending. And so I wanted to come to you guys today with my halftime review of Eragon, where I'm going to be talking about some, I actually took notes before this so that I can talk about it, so you guys know what you're getting into before you finish the book. Anyway, so overall thoughts on Eragon. It's not bad. It's pretty good. I would say it's pretty good. I think that the overall story, if you're a fantasy reader, of course you've heard of it, probably in a bad light. Although I don't know if it gets that completely fairly. Or you may have seen the movie, which people say is poor, and they do so fairly, right? But I haven't seen the movie in a long time. Whatever. I will come back to it when I finish this book. The point is, this book is what I would call the closest thing that we have to classic fantasy. What I will say is that compared to the story of The Lord of the Rings and these traditional farm boy to hero stories, Eragon is basically that. So, a quick plot summary for all of you who may not have read the book or may not have heard very much about it. Eragon is this farm boy who lives in Palancar Valley with all of these people, his family, his uncle, and his I guess his cousin. And then one day, Aragon finds this dragon egg while he's hunting in the Spine, which is this super dangerous mountain range that nobody's supposed to go on. He finds this dragon egg, and there's a whole whatever like cartoon shenanigans that happens. Anyway, he and this guy Brom, the storyteller, who is later revealed to be somebody very important, which I will not spoil in case you do want to read this book, which I would recommend. I think at the end of the day, it's a fast read, but they end up going on some misadventures. He meets up with some other people, and eventually, basically, the basic plot of it is that he's becoming a dragon rider. Now, I haven't quite finished it yet, and I don't really remember the ending from the first time I read it, so I don't know how it ends as of right now, but as of where I am, it's just fine. It is not a great novel. The story is good, but the story is something that you've seen before. I wanted to talk about this, but I'll talk about it later. It's basically, it's Star Wars. It is the exact same thing as Star Wars. Now, those of you who are fans of the channel know that I am a huge Star Wars fan, and seeing that it doesn't necessarily make me happy. It's interesting to see, but it's just unoriginal. And the thing is, this is a book where you can tell that this author Paolini wrote it when he was young. If you don't know, I don't remember exactly how old he was, but Christopher Paolini, the author of this and the whole Inheritance cycle, he wrote these books, or he wrote at least the first one, Eragon, when he was 15 or 16, I think. And it shows, even though it's a very well regarded book in terms of, I don't know, it's sold a lot, right? But you can tell in the writing style. It's pretty good so far. I'm not quite done with it yet, so bear with me for the full review. But I want to go through my praises right now. So, praise number one, the world building. Even if this book takes a lot from Tolkien, right, which is one of the main criticisms of it, is that its world and its characters and its lore basically are just all the same as the Lord of the Rings. It's still pretty good, right? I still think it's pretty good. The whole thing with the Dragon Riders, and it's interesting. If you are a fan of Tolkien, you will like this world. It's not going to feel like something crazy and new like The Way of Kings with Stormlight, but it is going to be comforting. It's going to be satisfying to you. Also praise the author's descriptions of things. I just got to the part where, this is spoiler free, but anyway, Aragon is looking up at a bunch of really tall mountains he's heard about in stories, and they're vast and white, and he like thinks that the sky has turned white because he can't see how high they are, and then he realizes, and I like, there are sections like that throughout the book where he's doing descriptions of things like scenes. It's descriptions of what things look like, that I actually think are pretty good. Not that they're bad otherwise, right? It's just like they're fine otherwise, but these ones are exceptionally good. That would be a praise for me. And then overall, the pacing of the story I think is pretty good. It's a fun adventure. It is a adventure story in which the protagonist is fine the whole time. Things go wrong, there are mishaps, but at the end of the day, he's always fine. And that is actually going to lead me to one of my main complaints about it. But before I get to that, I do want to talk about how it is a great farm boy to hero story. Right, this is the farm boy to hero story that I would read if I were reading a book. This book is so similar to Star Wars. I was thinking this while I was reading it. It's actually like kind of shocking. So you think about with Aragon, he's Luke Skywalker. He's a farm boy. He lives with his uncle. He doesn't know who his parents are. He loses his uncle at the start of the book. Right? Then you have the kind of rougher guy that comes in along the way with Murtagh, and he's helping escort him, right? And you have Brom, who's basically a stand-in for like one. There's a love interest, right? There's a love interest that's captured and mysterious, and Aragon has to save her. And there's the king, who I'm Dracondorix or something. I don't know why I'm forgetting it. Vercingetorix from the Aeneid, right? I'm forgetting his name, but he's a former dragon rider, Jedi, that turned into the evil king, which is part of the dark side. You have the Oryx and the kingdom, which is basically the empire, and they're on the run. They're trying to find the rebels with the what are they called? Why am I forgetting the names of everything? And yeah, really similar to Star Wars. And that leads me to one of my complaints about it, which is that it's Star Wars, but if Luke Skywalker didn't mature as he got older, right? It's like speedrunning the original trilogy. I don't know when he's gonna fight the king. If it's at the end of this book, that would be crazy. I don't think that they would get there in one book, but it's a lot like Star Wars, right? It's a lot like the original Star Wars. And anyway, so that brings me to my first complaint about the book, which is that Eragon, the character, not the book, he's unlikable. I don't like him. I'm like I don't like him, but he's really annoying. He's really whiny, and he always ends up safe and getting his way. Now, is that necessarily a bad thing? No. And like I mentioned before, that's just the kind of story you're getting into if you want to read Eragon. But for somebody like Game of Thrones and even Lord of the Rings, right? Obviously, the characters are never always safe there. You see, well, I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't read that 100-year-old book. But Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Way of Kings, you see characters that you like sometimes, all the time. And with Eragon, it's a little bit of that. I'm not going to spoil anything. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. It's this one character in particular I'm thinking of. But just like the character, Eragon is not weak at all. I also wanted to mention really quick that one thing I thought was cool was how like dragons, like things happen around them. That's actually pretty cool. I think it's cool, especially with regarding this certain moment with a certain character. If you've read the book, who ends up doing something related to Diamond. I'm not going to say what it was, but if you edit this out. Anyway, over the course of the book, Eragon trains with various people. He gets stronger and stronger as a Jedi, and by Jedi, I'm Rider, right, in this book. But unlike Luke Skywalker, as he gets stronger and he faces these complications, he doesn't grow up. He stays kind of that whiny farm boy. And now, obviously, we haven't like even gotten to some of the main points of the Star Wars plotline yet. But even from where we are, like, I feel like at this point in the story, I'm right after he and Murtagh, and this is a minor spoiler, so skip ahead like seconds probably. But I'm right after he and Murtagh have killed the captain of the bandits, right? And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's where I am right now. So they have, another minor spoiler, you might want to skip ahead again. They have escaped the kingdom, and they're like their way to the rebellion. I forget what it's called, but it's the rebellion. Anyway, at this point, without the Obi-Wan character, Eragon is just like his own, right? And like just is still acting like he did before. And it's really making me mad. Another thing that really makes me mad about the Eragon character is the inconsistency. So this is another minor spoiler. Skip ahead probably a minute if you don't want to hear anything about it. I'll try to be fast. But Murtagh kills the king of the bandits, or the leader of that bandit group that tries to rob them. Also, the bandit group totally random, like showed up literally for no reason, only to cause conflict between Murtagh and Eragon, and then like whatever. I don't know. There's just so much stuff like that in this book that kind of makes me mad. Anyway, and he's like, no, Murtagh, you can't kill him. He's defenseless. Like, just tried to kill you. He just tried to turn you into a slave. Like, I thought earlier in the book you wanted to kill all the slavers. Like, come on, Eragon. I don't know. It's just inconsistent, and it makes me mad. Anyway, no more spoilers from here on out. I think I'll let you know if there are. But it makes me mad. Those kind of things where the inconsistency in the character, where he says one thing earlier in the book and then later in the book he contradicts himself. It's bipolar. Like, I don't know. I just like it makes me mad. Especially when it causes conflict with other characters and then like conflict is just resolved immediately. That really makes me mad too because it's like there are no long-term consequences to his actions. Connecting back to the Luke Skywalker development thing, he just like so powerful so fast, and he's looking back and he's like, wow, I can't believe I couldn't even like this one random thing that's really easy that I can't think of an example of like a few months ago, and now I can bring water out of the earth and hold it there for us to drink. Like just like I don't know. I can't believe it. He happens to know all of these words, right? I know Brom taught him some of the old words, but like, just like they come forth from him, like it's like plot device. I think that it would be much more compelling if he had a limited number of spells because Brom didn't know that many, and maybe Eragon has to like scout the new spells because otherwise he's gonna die, right? And like the wraiths are like on his tail while he's trying to get the new spells so that he can use them against the wraiths. Like I think that would be a lot more compelling than what we have right now. And I'll get into that more with magic with the power level, although I'm kind of getting into it now. I'll get into the magic thing more later. My next complaint about the book, I'm going to move on from the Eragon character, at least for now. I don't think I'm going to come back to it. But my next complaint about the book is that it is like characters just start yapping, like they just go for like 10 pages, and it takes me out of it, right? Like getting into the story, especially earlier in the book where this was more of a problem. And it's like, what are we gonna do? Your uncle is dead. You're heading. You have to get to the village. The wraiths are here. Blah, blah. And then I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then Brahms goes on some spiel about like Dragon Rider, like, so I don't know. And then Brahm goes on some spiel about like Dragon Rider who like time like had an ice cream cone at the top of the mountain while nobody watched, and so how does nobody? And then Eragon has to ask a bunch of questions about it, and then I like just things are happening, and then they take time to just explain things that I don't care about. Right? There's like I care about the lore of this world, but the part of the lore that I care about is I care about that part too. Not the hyper specific stuff, but I care about a lot of that stuff. But I don't need 2 pages of Brahm explaining it while the wraiths are right behind it. Like I need to be in the story, right? And they're taking me out of it. That's probably my number one complaint about the book. And I thought that it would get better after a certain incident, but it was the same incident from before if you've read the book. But it didn't, because now Eragon just explains things even more, and that's my number one complaint about the book. And to clarify, right now I'm complaining a lot. But at the end of the day, I do still like this book, right? I think that it's a nice, fun, like read. It's not something that's going to blow your mind. It's not something that is going to completely envelop you, right? Like talking about getting into it, but I don't mean getting into it like get into the Stormlight Archive, right? I'm talking about like just you sit down, you read this book for like an hour, and you're like, oh yeah, pretty good. And you're like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen next. But you're not like, right? It doesn't have any emotional toll on you. Anyway, that is about. Nope. Okay, another problem. Okay, characters are all aura farmers. And if you do not know what that means, it basically means that they do a lot of like, I'm looking to just like look tough for the purpose of looking tough. Aragon doesn't do this a ton, but like does this, and Murtagh does this a lot, where they just like tell you anything about themselves. Where he's like, no, like, can't. I'll tell you that another time. I shouldn't have said that. Like, and then he just like off wistfully into the abyss. And it's like, all right, Brom, we get it. We like at this point in the like, as soon as you meet Brom, you can make a really good. You can guess what his past was that he's not telling you, and you're right. Like, if you're wrong, you're probably doing it on purpose. Like, I don't know. It's really obvious. And he's just like, no. And then Murtagh, I don't know. His past hasn't been revealed yet, but I have a guess. And I'll say this because this is my guess, right? I don't know if this is actually true. If you don't want to hear my guess, skip ahead like seconds. But my guess is that he's the son of the king. I'm not sure, but I don't know. We'll see how that pans out by the end of the book. I will let you guys know if I was right after a spoiler warning, of course. But like I don't know, it's just like they're trying to be mysterious, and it's like they're just not. And then that freaking cat, what was that? The werecat. That's just like I'm the werecat. Blah 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 blah. I will tell you your future. There is like blah blah blah. It's just like yeah, it's like kind of like the story's a little bit meandering, but like it's okay. Like it's okay. It's not meandering enough to be an issue. And then my last problem is with the whole world as a whole, the magic system. I A magic system does not always have to be as laid out as it is by Brandon Sanderson, right? Or in Lord of the Rings, or not Lord of the Rings. Well, yes, Lord of the Rings, but in Game of Thrones, right? There's not very much magic, but when there is, it's mysterious. You don't really know how it works. But that's okay because there's not that much of it, so they don't have to explain everything. With Aragon, Aragon just uses magic. Like you hear people talking about when it's like, oh, we'll just magic that problem. I think they were talking about that in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I feel like it was. Maybe someone check me on that and say something in the comments. Oh, right. Oh, and I completely forgot to talk about this, but it's fine. I'll talk about it in another video. Anyway, this is the quintessential, oh, we'll just magic it book, right? It's a problem they have, especially, well, every problem Aragon has. He's just like, oh, I can magic it. And then it's always like, he's like, oh, and I started to grow so weak I couldn't even stand, but I managed to do it. Like, I don't care. If you manage to do it, tell me you managed to do it. I don't need to hear that you're so weak unless it becomes relevant. Like, it's like if you get attacked by robbers right after that when you're still too weak to do anything. That is interesting. What is not interesting to me is when we waste a whole page and Aragon is like, he's like struggled and strained. I would hear it's like Aragon struggled and strained, but to draw the water from the ground. And I'm using that as an example, but like, and then finally he did it and he held it there and it took so much effort. He could barely sit up straight. And then it's like nothing happens. So it was kind of pointless to tell me that, and I don't really care, right? And then that's also the same point in the book where he would be like, look back and he'd be like, it's so funny how I struggled to even like I don't know, like earlier, which is weird because that was crazy because I wasn't even using magic. I thought I was, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. This book makes me a little bit mad. Let me change that. The book itself doesn't make me mad. Thinking about the book makes me mad. It makes me mad that it is in my brain and that I have to think about this logically because I know it's not supposed to be taken that way. Anyway, those are all of the notes that I have on Aragon so far. Overall, halfway through, I'm gonna give it like 6 out of 10. It's good. It is above mid. I will say that it is above mid, but it's not great. I think that if you love Lord of the Rings, you will probably find joy in reading this book. I do not think that it will be your favorite book of all time. but I think that you will think it's fun, and I think that you will enjoy it. I think that if you are a fan of fantasy, you should read it. I think that if you are a hardcore fan of, you're really committed to the idea of you can't know where the story is going, probably don't read it. It'll just make you mad, I think. Yeah, if you're that kind of person, do not read this book, probably. Now, full disclosure, when I read this book originally, I was like 10 years old, maybe younger than that. I don't remember. But I read this one and I read Eldest. I think that's the second one in the cycle. I don't remember. If not, I still read it and I don't know, it made sense to me. So it's been a long time. And I really do not remember the ending, and I really do not remember very well a little bit how Paulini, like especially with like perspectives later on. But I do remember it being good. So it's possible that later in the Inherited cycle it gets even better. But I don't know. I'll have to get to that, I guess, if I keep reading it. I think I'll probably read one more book and that'll be it. Anyway, that is going to do it for today's video. I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on this so far. I'm getting close to the end. I'm listening to the audiobook as I read it on 1.5 times speed, and I think I have like hours left, so I'm pretty close. But about it for today's video. I'm going to film another one today, just heads up, so there will be a guaranteed another video tomorrow. And there should be going forth a video every day, I think. So about it for today. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.